All right, let's jump into another deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at the European automotive industry.
Oh, interesting.
And we've got some really fascinating material that you guys have sent in.
Okay.
We're going to be focusing on commentary from two big names, Luca De Meo,
Mm-hmm.
the CEO of Renault,
Right.
and Matteo Tiraboschi, executive chairman of Brembo.
Yeah, it's particularly interesting that De Meo decided to use a conference titled Innovate to Return to Growth to lay out his vision for the industry.
Oh, wow.
It kind of highlights the challenges that they're facing, that they need to innovate to return to growth.
Yeah, for sure. There's this real tension, isn't there, between the need to innovate and the reality of the market struggling.
Yeah.
And De Meo, he doesn't just offer critiques. He throws out some bold ideas.
Right.
We're talking a potential shift in the relationship with China, a call for the comeback of small cars,
Yeah.
and even a push to give engineers more freedom. And we're also going to delve into Tiraboshi's perspective on tariffs and how they play into this whole, uh, you know, global game of automotive chess.
Yeah, De Meo's proposal on Chinese automakers, that's the one that really jumped out at me, I think.
Yeah.
Suggesting that the EU should just allow Chinese companies a 10 to 15% share of the market, that's a big move.
It's huge. And he seems to be suggesting this in exchange for investment,
Right.
drawing a parallel to similar deals that were made with Japanese, American, and Korean manufacturers in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those manufacturers hold a combined 25% of the European market.
Yeah.
So he's definitely playing the long game here.
Yeah.
But the question is this brilliant? Or is it protectionism in reverse?
That's a good question. I mean, you could argue that by allowing Chinese companies in a controlled way,
Yeah.
it might prevent a more aggressive kind of influx later down the line.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be a way to inject, some much needed capital into the European market
Yeah.
and stimulate innovation through competition.
But, I mean, what about the potential downsides? You could see European manufacturers feeling threatened,
Uh-huh.
especially if Chinese companies are able to offer cars at lower prices.
Right.
And there are always those concerns about job losses in the European auto sector.
These are definitely valid concerns. Yeah, you got to weigh those carefully.
Yeah.
And this is where the conversation about electric vehicles becomes really important. I think
Hmm.
De Meo's stance on EVs is it's not a simple for or against.
Right. It's more nuanced.
Yeah.
He's not denying the environmental benefits,
Mm-hmm.
especially for smaller cars that are mainly used in cities.
Yeah.
But he's also pointing out that overregulation, forcing electric vehicles as the only solution,
Right.
could be making these cars way too complex and expensive.
Yeah, it raises some interesting questions about, like, the EU's green agenda.
Uh-huh.
Is De Meo kind of pushing back against that, or is there a more nuanced argument there? Because he seems to be advocating for a more balanced approach.
Yeah.
One that doesn't just, like, throw out all these other potentially valuable technological solutions
Right.
in pursuit of just this one path.
And that's where his call for a small car comeback comes in,
Okay.
which I got to admit, I find kind of intriguing.
Yeah.
Remember those tiny, super fuel-efficient cars
Yeah.
zipping around European cities?
Mm-hmm.
De Meo argues that current EU regulations are actually making it, unprofitable
Wow.
to produce those smaller, more affordable vehicles,
Interesting.
which is hitting manufacturers in places like Italy, France, and Spain particularly hard.
Oh, right.
What he suggests is a different set of rules specifically for these small cars,
Mm-hmm.
maybe inspired by Japan's approach to it.
I wonder if, like, a world with tiny, affordable electric cars zipping around European cities,
Yeah,
if that's actually a possibility.
it's a cool thought.
Yeah.
And it connects to another point De Meo makes, the connection between the shrinking European car market and the decline in purchasing power of the middle class.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost as if he's suddenly advocating for policies that would boost the middle class's income alongside these green initiatives,
Right.
recognizing that affordability is key to making any of this work.
Yeah, for sure. If people can't afford the cars, it doesn't matter how innovative or environmentally friendly they are.
Exactly.
Now, shifting gears a little bit to Matteo Tiraboschi, we see a slightly different perspective, particularly when it comes to tariffs.
Yeah.
Tiraboschi seems to view tariffs as a lose-lose scenario.
Mm-hmm.
He argued that they harm both businesses and consumers
Yeah.
and fuel this global conflict.
Right. And this ties back to De Meo's earlier points about protectionism.
Yeah.
Could these policies we're seeing in the U.S. actually be hurting European competitiveness in the long run?
It's definitely something to consider. If we zoom out and look at the global context,
Mhm.
it feels like there's a lot of tension brewing around trade
Uh-huh.
and the possibility of a trade war that hurts everyone. That's a real possibility.
It is,
Yeah, it really does feel like things are heating up trade-wise.
for sure.
And it's interesting how De Meo's view on EVs kind of ties into this. It's not
Mhm.
so black and white for him. He
Mhm.
gets that they're good for the planet, especially for cities.
Right.
But he also suggests that pushing EVs as the only answer could actually backfire,
Yeah.
especially if it means cars become like too complex and expensive.
He actually mentioned some independent studies
Oh, really?
showing that electric cars only have a lower environmental impact in 70% of cases.
Hmm.
But then he was quick to add that it's not like a one-size-fits-all solution.
Yeah.
Great for the city, but not so much for, like, long trips.
Right, right.
It almost felt like he was kind of poking fun at the idea of, using one single metric
Yeah.
to decide if the whole green initiative is working.
Yeah, he used a phrase that I thought was really insightful. He said, "Don't put everything on one number."
Oh, wow.
It seems like he's warning against, those overly simplistic ways of measuring things.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, cutting emissions is obviously super important,
Of course.
but he's arguing that we need to look at the bigger picture, the
Mhm.
cost, the infrastructure, how people actually use their cars,
Yeah.
and maybe most importantly, looking at a wider range of potential solutions.
So it sounds like he's not exactly anti-EV,
Yeah,
but he's
no.
definitely pro, giving engineers the space to come up with different approaches.
Yeah, like let's not limit ourselves to just one solution when there might be others that are just as good or even better.
Right, exactly.
He also argued that all these regulations we have now,
Yeah.
with such a big focus on EVs, that it's
Mhm.
actually stifling innovation.
Really?
Yeah, making cars too complex and expensive, that's not helping anyone.
No.
Especially when you consider what he said about those smaller cars.
Right. He's basically saying that these strict regulations are making it way harder to make those small, affordable, fuel-efficient cars that used to be so common in Europe.
Right, and those were really popular.
Yeah.
And this is a problem for manufacturers in places like Italy, France, Spain,
Uh-huh.
where small cars have always been a big part of their market.
Sure.
It's almost like he's arguing for more diversity, not just in terms of the tech,
Yeah.
but also the types of vehicles people can actually choose from.
And it all leads back to his suggestion about letting Chinese automakers in, right?
It does, yeah. It's definitely a controversial idea.
Mm-hmm.
Giving Chinese companies a 10 to 15% share of the European market, I mean, some people see that as a huge risk,
Uh-huh.
potentially really bad for European manufacturers.
Hmm.
But De Meo seems to think it's necessary to stay competitive,
Okay.
in this global market that's changing so fast.
Yeah.
He even compared it to what happened with Japanese, American, Korean car makers before,
Yeah.
who now have a big chunk of the European market, Like, we've dealt with this before, we can do it again.
It's a bold move, that's for sure.
Definitely. It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
But, while De Meo seems to be all for a more open approach to global competition,
Right.
Tiraboschi's take on tariff, that feels like a completely different way of thinking.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Well, Tiraboschi sees tariffs as just a roadblock, basically.
Okay.
He says they end up hurting everyone, businesses and regular people.
Hmm.
He even suggested they could make inflation worse.
Which is already a big concern.
Exactly. And it's interesting because De Meo, while he wants that partnership with China,
Yeah.
he also worries about these protectionist policies we're seeing from the U.S.
Right.
So even though they have different approaches, they both seem to get that the global economy is all connected
Hmm.
and that these trade wars, they could be really dangerous for everybody.
Yeah, it's not just about cars anymore.
No, it's not.
It's like this whole web of global economics, environmental policies, even the future of work.
It really is. It's like peeling back layers of an onion.
Wow.
The deeper you go, the more complicated it gets,
Yeah.
but also more interesting.
Definitely. And De Meo's suggestion to let those Chinese automakers into Europe,
Right.
that just adds another whole layer to this onion.
It does, because on the surface it might seem like a single business deal, but there's so much more to it. Like, who has the economic power? Who's leading in technology?
Yeah.
Even cultural influence.
And what about the impact on people who buy cars?
Yeah, good point.
De Meo says that letting Chinese manufacturers in would create more competition and maybe even lower prices.
Mm-hmm.
But could that mean lower quality? Or cars that aren't as safe?
Yeah, tough questions.
Definitely something for European policymakers to think about.
For sure.
But, we can't forget about the people in all of this.
Right.
We're not just talking about numbers and graphs. We're talking about people's jobs, their livelihoods,
Absolutely.
how they get around.
And that brings us back to what De Meo said about the middle class struggling to afford things.
Exactly.
If we want people to switch to more environmentally friendly cars,
Yeah.
it needs to be something everyone can afford, not just rich people.
It's about finding that balance between the economy, the environment, and making sure things are fair for everyone.
It's a big challenge.
It is, but I think the car industry is in a unique position to figure this out.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because cars have always been more than just machines.
Right.
They're symbols of freedom, of getting around, of progress.
Yeah.
And now they could even represent something bigger, a future that's sustainable.
Mm.
But we've seen that there are lots of different ideas about what that future should look like.
Definitely. De Meo with his, let's not limit ourselves approach to technology and rules. He
Yeah.
wants innovation to lead the way. He doesn't want the industry to be stuck following just one path.
Right.
And then you have Tiraboschi warning about those protectionist policies and tariffs.
Uh-huh.
He thinks global cooperation is key, like the car industry should be connecting countries, not dividing them.
I like that, building bridges.
Yeah,
And both of those viewpoints make sense.
they do.
The challenge is, how do we put those together? How do we create a future that's both innovative and cooperative?
That uses the latest technology, but is also good for everyone.
It's like weaving a tapestry, using all these different threads, different colors, different textures.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And that's what makes this whole conversation so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about finding one right answer.
No.
It's about exploring all the possibilities, recognizing that it's complicated, and not being afraid of the challenges.
Absolutely, because the future of the European car industry, it's not set in stone.
No.
It's being decided right now with the choices that are being made, the conversations that are happening, the ideas that people are exploring.
And those choices, those conversations, those ideas, they can have a huge impact.
Yeah.
Not just on the car industry, but on the whole world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really feels like the European car industry is at a crossroads right now.
It does, doesn't it? So many huge changes happening all at once.
Globalization, technology, the whole sustainability issue.
And it's like the industry's being pulled in every direction.
Yeah, and we can't forget about the people in all this.
Right, exactly. We can't just look at numbers and tech and forget about the impact on real people.
Like De Meo talked about, the middle class is struggling.
Right. If people can't afford these new solutions, it doesn't really matter how innovative they are.
It's about fairness, too, making sure everyone benefits from this shift to a greener way of getting around.
A transition that works for everyone, not just the wealthy few.
It's got to be sustainable economically, too.
Absolutely. It's about finding that sweet spot where the economy, the environment, and social justice all come together.
Yeah, very tough one to balance.
It is, but the auto industry, they're kind of in a unique position to tackle this, I think.
Why do you say that?
Well, think about it. Cars have always been more than just machines, right?
Yeah, they represent freedom, the ability to travel, progress even.
Exactly. And now they could actually stand for something even bigger, a future that's truly sustainable.
I like that, but there are so many different ideas about what that future should look like.
That's true. De Meo, with his emphasis on letting engineers explore different technologies and a more flexible approach to regulation.
Yeah, he's all about innovation, letting that be the driving force.
Right. He doesn't want to see the industry boxed in by strict rules or just focusing on one technology.
Whereas Tiraboschi, he's warning about those tariffs and protectionism.
Yeah, he's all about countries working together, collaborating, seeing the car industry as something that brings nations closer.
Instead of dividing them.
Exactly. And both of those viewpoints have merit,
They do. The question is, how do we combine them? How do we create a future that's both innovative and cooperative?
Where we have cutting-edge technology, but it benefits everyone.
It's like weaving together all these different threads, to create something beautiful and whole.
That's a great way to put it, and that's what makes this whole discussion so interesting.
Yeah, it's not about finding one perfect answer.
Right? It's about looking at all the options, understanding that it's complex, and being willing to face the challenges.
Because the future of the European car industry isn't set in stone.
No, it's being shaped right now by the decisions being made, the conversations happening, the ideas people are putting forward.
And those decisions, those conversations, those ideas, they could have a huge ripple effect.
Yeah, not just on the car industry, but on the world as a whole.
So what do you think? What kind of future do you see for the European car industry?
What role should it play in creating a world that's more sustainable, more equitable, more interconnected?
We've given you a lot to think about, and we really want to hear your thoughts.
Share your ideas, your questions, your hopes, even your concerns down in the comments.
Let's keep this deep dive going.
And as always, thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the topics that matter.
Until next time.
See